Greetings, this is a reading of the book The Airship Golden Hind. Some of the language in this book has not aged well and is indeed no longer politically correct. Take caution when listening to this visual audio book. Footage and photography are provided by Photations. At Photations, we believe that the world would be a better place if people spent their time being creative, joining us in practicing art so we all can be the master of art. Find our prints available at our store www.photationsstore.com. Keep our artwork alive by making a donation at photationsdonations.com. The Airship Golden Hind by Percy F. Westerman. Chapter 7 Delays. Avastani. They declared Fosterdijk, let's get on with it. Full speed to Gib. Everyone on board realized that every minute was precious. With her 6 motors running all out, the Golden Hind quickly worked up to her maximum speed of 180 miles an hour. At that rate, the petrol consumption was alarming, but Fosterdijk faced the fact cheerfully while he was obtaining the necessary certificates and making an official declaration to the authorities at Gibraltar. The airship could replenish her somewhat depleted fuel tanks. But Sir Reginald had not taken into account the vagaries of red tape and petty officialdom. At 11 a.m., the Golden Hind sighted the historic rock. 5 minutes later, she slowed down and turned head to wind off the west side of the fortress with the assistance of a dockyard mooring party. A stout galvanized steel wire was lowered from the boat compartment of the fuselage and secured to a large mooring buoy off the detached mole. Then, with sufficient gas in her ballonets to keep her buoyant, the Golden Hind floated it to wind at 50 feet above the Bay of Gibraltar. Almost before the mooring operations were completed, the water in the vicinity was crowded with boats of all sorts, sizes, and descriptions, while the water front was packed with a dense concourse of interested spectators, representatives of the umpteen nationalities to be found living on the few square miles of thickly populated rock. "Nothing you want ashore, I suppose?" inquired Fosterdijk as he prepared to descend a wire ladder, the end of which was being steadied by a couple of bluejackets in a picket boat. "Thanks, no," replied Kenyon. "That's good," continued the baronet fervently. "Hate having to execute commissions. Not that I don't like obliging people, but I am so deucedly forgetful. Right-o, stand by. I'll be back in less than a couple of hours. I hope come along, Branston." Eagerly Fosterdijk swarmed down the swaying ladder, followed at a safe distance by Peter, who carried a parcel of documents and a Mercator's chart on which the proposed route was marked for the benefit of the International Air Committee's representative and also the competent military authorities of the various garrisons where the Golden Hind was scheduled to land. Peter Branston had plenty of experience of petty officialdom at the Air Ministry. He well remembered the time running into hours all told a weary waiting in draughty corridor until it pleased certain individuals holding high places to signify their condescension conveyed by a pert damsel in brown overall and a pigtail tied with an enormous boat to receive the insignificant lieutenant. Here it was much the same. The officials who were considered indispensable in the matter of signing various documents were out to lunch. A look of horrified amazement overspread the features of the minion, to whom Fosterdijk suggested that time would be saved by sending for them. The British Empire might totter the chance of winning fame by being the first airman to fly round the globe be lost, but by no possibility must such trivial details prevent officialdom from having its lunch, a movable feast occupying normally from 1 o'clock till 3. Hind et al. Bramson, exclaimed Fosterdike explosively during one of the numerous periods of forced inaction. Clearly, the usually unruffled Fernet was showing signs of annoyance. Hind et al. It was ever thus petty hirelings whose one idea of efficiency is to raise obstacles and to quibble over unimportant details. Those are the stumbling blocks for twopence. I cut the cackle and carry on. And be disqualified at the winning post, reminded the cautious Peter. We're wasting precious time. It'll be an unofficial competition, then declared Fosterdike. The honor of achieving the flight will be enough. The money prize can go. Hind. Come along, let's make tracks. I vote we look up the commissioner at his private quarters, suggested Bramston. After all, the Golden Hind won't have refilled her petrol tanks yet. Suppose not, growled Fosterdike. Someone's illegible signature is required for the Indians. I presume right-o, Bramston. Let's rout out this indispensable. Somewhat to Peter's surprise, the official was discovered with little difficulty. He had just finished his lunch, and as the meal had been a satisfying one, he was in high good humor. So Count von Sinzig has 5 hours start, I remarked, the worthy representative of the International Air Board. That's nothing, you'll make that up easily. The documents, yes, quite so. Unfortunately, the seals are in my office. I'll be along there very shortly. Isn't your signature enough? Asked the baronet. The great one hesitated. On the one hand, he wanted to impress his callers by admitting that his signature was absolutely it. On the other, years of punctilious devotion to the ethics of red tape urged him to deprecate such a cutting of the Gordian knot. No, Sir Reginald, he replied, both are necessary. One is not conclusively in order without the other. I'll be at the office by 3. It was now 2:15. Fosterdike felt strongly inclined to inquire pointedly why 3/4 of an hour would be taken up by the commissioner in getting from his quarters to his office. By 3:10, the various documents were sealed and signed. As the competitors were on the point of taking their departure, the commissioner spoke again. I don't seem to have seen Form 4456, he observed dryly. That had to be obtained before you left England. It wasn't, replied the baronet, bluntly, an oversight, I admit, but you don't suggest that I return to England to get it. It is necessary, was the rejoinder. Without it, the flight would not be in order. In fact, as an authorized representative of the International Air Board, I can rule you out of the contest. Devil, declared Fosterdike hotly. He was rapidly nearing the end of his restraint. This, I may observe, is a contest of aircraft, not a paper competition. Form 4456 is not an absolute essential. Since you require it, I presume the case can be met if my representative in England has the form made out and sent to you by registered post. It will be in your hands before the Golden Hind completes the circuit. The commissioner consulted a ponderous tome, chock a blot with rules and regulations for aerial navigation, written in official phraseology so confusing that it was possible to have more than one interpretation for at least 75% of the complicated paragraphs. Quoting Article 1071, subsection the official made the discovery that the rendering of Form 4456 could be dispensed with in circumstances laid down in Article 2074, Section 5, etc., etc. Thereupon he rang a bell, summoned a head clerk, who in turn deputed a junior to fetch a certain form. When this was forthcoming, a blob of sealing wax, the impress of a seal, and the great man's legible signature, and the trick was done. As far as the International Air Board was concerned, the Golden Hind was a recognized and duly authorized competitor for the Chavez Prize. There was still the recognized military authority to be dealt with. That official was urbanity personified. He did everything in his power to expedite matters, but red tape was stronger than gold lace. The loud report of a gun warned Fosterdike and his companion that sunset had descended upon the rock. The gates of the fortress were closed till sunrise. Won't affect you, explained the courteous official. You can get back by the boat from the Old Mole. I won't keep you very much longer. It really isn't my fault. Gibraltar was a bad choice of mine for a starting point, observed Fosterdike. Afraid so, agreed the other. Here we are. Thank you. Wilson, where's my fountain pen? Where's, oh, dash it all, where's everything? That's settled. Then have a drink before you go. No, well, cheerio, and the very best of luck. Armed with the necessary documents, sealed, signed, and delivered, Fosterdike and Bramston found themselves in the open air. Darkness had already fallen. It was a good 2 miles from Little Europa Point to the Old Mole, and not a vehicle of any sort was to be seen. Tired, hot, and hungry, they reached the spot where a naval pinnace was supposed to be awaiting them. It was not there. A message erroneously delivered had sent the boat back to the dockyard. Had to be done. Fosterdike hired a native boat, paying without demur a villainous-looking rock-scorp the excessive sum he demanded. For a quarter of an hour, the boat rowed about while the baronet and his companion gazed aloft in the hope of spotting the Golden Hind against the dark sky. She's gone, declared Bramston. Nonsense, exclaimed Fosterdike irritably. Why should she? Nevertheless, in his mind he was convinced that such was the case. Presently the boat ran close to the buoy to which the airship had been moored. Both men recognized the buoy by the number painted on a no-wire rope ran upwards to an invisible object floating in the darkness of the night. Unaccountably, mysteriously, the Golden Hind had disappeared.